Hi, I'm Caleb. I've been using model trains in videos for years, but I don't have the best track record when it comes to customizations. I'm trying to get better at it, so join me as I dive into the world of miniature modeling. This is Caleb's Trains. This video is not made for kids. I will be showcasing dangerous tools and toxic materials that are potentially hazardous. Children should not have access to these, and please remember to use proper safety techniques. Thanks.
You're not gonna die with your dad thinking you're a joke.
And well, my dad thinks I'm a joke too.
Yeah, well, your dad's right!
Henry the Green Engine, a troubled soul. Even his own creator disliked him. I've always had a soft spot for Henry, but have never really given him much attention in my own projects. The Bachmann model's proportions are kinda long, and the tender is just way too short compared to the original Gauge 1 prop. Also, the side rods, hello? No, this wasn't gonna cut it. Henry's reputation for being difficult stayed true with this project. Frankly, I wanted to wall him up in a tunnel too. The 3D body shell was created by the LBSC Thomas and printed by the train modeler. The tender's main body was also made by the LBSC Thomas, however I added the Bufferbeam from Jamos's files and made a coal chute myself just because. If you saw the Percy video, you'd know that I didn't start work on Henry with the rest of the crew. When he did arrive, the other models were already halfway done, so I had to bring him up to speed with the others. 3D printing is wonderful, but it's not without its challenges. There were a lot of indents on the tender from the support, so it was time to break out the filler for those and any other areas that had harsh print lines. Once that dried, I sanded away the excess filler. Then I used Tamiya Primer and repeated this process of filling, sanding, and priming until I was satisfied with the surface.
The rain will spoil my lovely green paint and red stripes, he said.
I gave him a coat of Willow green, a custom mix based on the Volkswagen color. The wheel arches are especially pesky and still had some visible print lines, so I sanded them again and reapplied the paint. Now, up till this point, the chassis haven't been very complicated, with the exception of Percy, and in that case I deferred the work to someone else. Honestly, I was a little intimidated by the thought of taking the chassis apart and being able to reassemble it properly given all of the linkage and the valve gears and stuff. But there was no other way to do it. So I enlisted the help of some trucks to hold the parts, and then I prepared all of Henry's wheels for painting. I also put custom piston details on the Bachmann ones. The piston set was originally Gordon's, but at the time I only had enough plates for one set, and I wanted to get Henry painted. His chassis block also had to be cut down, and the eye mech removed to fit the new shell. This is one of my least favorite parts of this process. Genuinely, if you are doing this yourself, please wear eye protection. You do not want hot metal shards launching into your eyes. I thinned his side rods with the Dremel tool and put everything back together. He was running I need to flag this now because I did not realize I'd put him together wrong for an embarrassing amount of time. The eccentric rod wasn't moving properly. In the channel trailer, there's a reason you don't see the valve gear. Next, I masked around his smoke box and his steam pipes. This was tricky, but it came out pretty well. I masked his red pinstriping except for the splashers, and it didn't go exactly how I wanted it to. I was eyeballing the spacing, and in trying to avoid having a large gap in the middle, somehow made the middle section too small. You know what though, real black 5s don't always have even spacing on the stripes. It's fine. The back stripe... Leave me alone! Henry's just gonna be a little special, and that's how it's gonna be. I got the tender ready to apply the red of the Bufferbeam, and though this was days after I had applied the green paint, the masking tape ripped some of it up.
You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me!
I was running low on this paint and needed it for other projects, so I'd have to wait to respray that
later.
In the meantime, I applied the red to his running board and set up another mask to do his cab window lining. The holes for his handrails had to be drilled out a little bit more, and then the installation was pretty easy. He's luckily got a sturdy boiler, so no fear of puncture. Have I ever mentioned I love Tamiya masking tape? I used vinyl for the splasher lining, and then it was time to tackle the tender again. It took a couple of rounds of spraying, but the gray finally went away. From there, vinyl came in to save the day with the lining and the numbers. At this point, Henry was pretty much cosmetically complete, but his chassis just still wasn't right. The eccentric rod was a real puzzle, and he was now juddering and shaking. It was a headache. After a lot of trial and error, it turns out all I needed to do was tighten a screw. Nice. Honestly though, I couldn't even be mad because I was just so thrilled to see him running properly for the first time. A little weathering here and there for our heavy goods hero, and Henry was ready. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and leaving a comment. It really means a lot. Thank you.